As you remember, I recently directed the Secretary of War. How good is Pete Hegseth doing, by the way? To begin releasing government files relating to UFOs and unexplained aerial phenomena. And I figured this was a good crowd because I know you people, you're really into that. I don't know if I am, but so I'm pleased to report today, I thought I'd save it for this crowd, because you're a little bit out there, you know, a little bit, that this process is well underway, and we found many very interesting documents, I must say, and the first releases will begin very, very soon, so you can go out and see if that phenomena is correct. You'll figure it out. Let me know. Let me know. But we've had a lot of questions. It's something that really captivates the mind.
As you remember, I recently directed the Secretary of War to begin releasing government files relating to UFOs and unexplained aerial phenomena. And I figured this was a good crowd because I know you people. You're really into that. Take a second. Sit with that. The President of the United States, standing in front of a room full of his most devoted supporters, is talking about aliens. UFOs, unexplained aerial phenomena, at a Turning Point USA event. While the Epstein files, the actual files, the ones with actual names of actual people who actually did actual things to actual children, remain sealed, buried, and apparently not worth a single syllable from the man who promised to release them. Picture this. You have a house that is on fire, real fire, children are trapped inside. And the guy with the keys to the fire truck is standing in the driveway telling you about the weather on Mars. That is what we just watched. That is the visual metaphor for this entire video. A man with the power to open every door, unlock every file, subpoena every name, standing at a podium talking about whether aliens exist, while survivors are still waiting to know if their abusers will ever face consequences. That is what happened. That is what we are going to talk about today. Before we go any further, make sure you are subscribed to Celebrity News Media. We do not just read the headlines out loud and call it analysis. We find the documents, we track the timelines, we follow the money, and the silence, and the very specific pattern of who gets protected and why. Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on your notifications, because this story has layers that most channels will never touch. Now, let us build this properly, because the Epstein file situation is not just a political football. It is a documented, time-stamped, court record-supported story of institutional failure, selective enforcement, and a very deliberate choice about whose names stay hidden and whose trauma stay.
There's no question about it. With you.
So nothing about Epstein still. We're going to be doing fake UFO releases. That's the information we're going to be on top of. Great. And in fact, it's funny that this is what Donald Trump is bringing up. We're also going to talk about Fox at the end of this video, so do stick around for what the propaganda outlet is pushing. But I'll say again, Epstein, question mark? Question. I don't know. Have you all seen Project Hail Mary? Epstein, question. It's my Rocky impression. I may have to work on the voice and like the crabness. Or
the man who ran on promises of transparency.
Need a very weird speech from Trump. We're going to get into it all, but it started with Donald Trump demanding applause for opening a strait that we don't even know if it's open or not.
This will be a great and brilliant day for the world, because Iran has just announced that the Strait of Hormuz is fully open and ready for business and full passage. But the naval blockade, with the greatest navy in the world, from the greatest military the world has ever seen, we built it during my first term. We built it. They said I was crazy. We weren't so crazy, were we? Will remain in full force and effect as it pertains to Iran until such time as our transaction with Iran is 100% complete and fully signed.
The man whose supporters held signs saying, "Release the files." The man who had the legal authority, the institutional power, and the stated public commitment to open the Epstein records wide and let the American people see what is inside them. He stood at a podium and talked about UFO documents. He said, and this is a direct quote, "We found many very interesting documents about UFOs, and the first releases will begin very, very soon. Very interesting documents. Very, very soon.
I would first like to say whether or not the Strait of Hormuz is actually open is kind of up for debate. Iran has been sending some ships back. Some have gotten through. Of course, Donald Trump said that he's going to continue to blockade. So I really don't know what we're doing with this negotiation. But the fact that the SEALs, and that's what they are, the MAGA SEALs in the crowd that go, or. Oh, good job, dear leader. You're doing so great. Oh, you opened the Strait of Hormuz? It was open before. Well, why is this an applause line? Why does he get credit? Donald Trump earlier today actually called it the Strait of Iran, which is an accurate representation of what has happened to a strait that they did not control, that they now do, according to Trump, since his illegal and unnecessary war began.
You know what else has very interesting documents that could begin to be released very, very soon? The Epstein files. The sealed court records, the flight logs with names attached, the documented network of an elite trafficking operation that ran for decades and was protected at the highest levels of American society. Those documents, the ones with real consequences, the ones with real names.
You have people out there who are actively trying to tear this country apart. They love to start fights, dividing us all against each other, spreading negativity, all to get clicks and influence the algorithm to maximize profits. Meanwhile, building is hard. Getting out the vote, talking to real people, spiritual revival, that's actual work. That is actual work. And my husband, Charlie, gave his life for that work. And what gets built lasts for generations long after the noise has run out of.
Those documents apparently are not very interesting enough to warrant a single mention at a major conservative rally, while the alien files get a dramatic reveal moment. Revenge is not a national security strategy. Let us talk about why that phrase matters right now. Because what has happened with the Epstein file situation is not complicated, if you are willing to look at it clearly. The files exist. The court proceedings happened. The convictions happened. Ghislaine Maxwell is in federal prison right now. The evidentiary record of what occurred is not a mystery. The mystery is not what Epstein did. The mystery is who else was in that world and what their names are, and why those names remain protected while Maxwell sits in a cell and survivors wait for something that looks like full accountability. And here is the ticking clock question that nobody in the mainstream press seems to want to ask directly. If there are individuals named in the Epstein documentation who currently hold positions of influence in government, in finance, in media, in any sector that touches national security, intelligence, or policy, what is the active national security cost of leaving their names sealed? This is not a rhetorical hypothetical. This is a structural question about how blackmail actually works as a geopolitical instrument. If a foreign intelligence service has access to the same information that the American public does not have access to because it is sealed in a federal court filing, then the secrecy is not protecting the American people. The secrecy is a vulnerability. The secrecy is a weapon pointed at us by anyone who already knows what is inside those files and can use that knowledge to influence the people whose names are in them. That is not a theory. That is how counterintelligence works. Ask any former FBI agent who has spent time in the counterintelligence division and they will tell you the same thing. Compromised individuals in positions of power are national security liabilities. The compromise works because of secrecy. Remove the secrecy and you remove the leverage. So the decision to keep these files sealed is not a neutral administrative choice. It is an active decision with active consequences for national security. And the President of the United States is aware of this. He has staff who are aware of this. His intelligence briefings are aware of this. And he talked about aliens. Revenge is not a national security strategy. Here is what makes this particularly remarkable. The Turning Point USA crowd is not a random sample of the American public. These are the true believers, the people who have followed every development in the MAGA universe, who understand the Epstein situation because it was a central pillar of the political movement that brought Trump to power the first time around. QAnon, the deep state, the cabal, the trafficking network, all of it was woven into the fabric of the populist coalition that elected this man. These people were not uninformed about Epstein. They were hyper-informed. They had been waiting for this specific promise to be fulfilled. And what did they get instead? Applause lines about the Strait of Hormuz being open, which is kind of up for debate, and UFO documents that will be released very, very soon. So ask yourself a straightforward question. If you have a room full of the most motivated, most loyal, most attentive supporters you have, people who have been waiting for accountability on the biggest elite trafficking scandal in modern American history, and you choose that room, that crowd, that moment to announce UFO files instead of Epstein files, what does that choice tell you? It tells you the choice is deliberate. It tells you that the specific audience that cares most about this specific issue is being managed, not informed, managed, given something shiny to look at so they do not spend the next news cycle asking the uncomfortable question about why the files are still sealed. That is not an accident.
Divide the country, kind of idiotic, but it got weird. As you know, it got weird, and some grabbing happened, and just blah. We're going to watch the full moment, but this is the photo that Midas Touch posted of Donald Trump just grabbing at Erica. You can see like the ruffles in her jacket, and just Trump kisses Erica during a Turning Point USA event. Blah. It's a gross face. It's a gross grab. It's a gross kiss. It's not good. Let's take a look at the whole video, though. So you can see Trump with pyrotechnics, Erica walking up, and it's a grab, and it's just a really it's grabby. It's not subtle. It's a pull in. It's not a bring about. It's not a dap up. It's not a mutual. It's a pull. There's like some tension. It's not blah. It's just gross. It's just gross. It is just gross. That is the only way.
Pulled her in. Kissed her in a way that was described by observers as grabby, as a pull, as something with tension in it, not a mutual greeting, a physical assertion. And Erica Kirk is a former Trump pageant participant, someone who has been in his orbit in that specific capacity. Someone who, in the context of everything we now know about how Trump has historically behaved around women connected to his pageant world, should not be in a situation where the President of the United States is physically pulling her toward him in front of cameras at a political event. And nobody in that room said anything.
That I can describe it, but what else did we think was going to happen? Ugh. And there's that weird photo. Remember the video from the funeral? The Charlie funeral, if that's what it was. It's like a show for Donald Trump to try to pretend that he cared about a guy who he just like extorted. Well, I don't know. Charlie got his own out of it. Not anymore though. Erica seems to be struggling. You know, Erica Kirk was supposed to visit a high school next week, and it got so much pushback that they had to move the event off campus. That's how things are going for Erica. Like, she thought she was going to be riding high forever. She thought she was going to be J.D. Vance's VP, or maybe like his second wife, and now she's getting kicked out of.
The crowd cheered. The SEALs clapped, because that is what the environment produces. Environments where power is unconditional produce exactly this. Public behavior that would be unacceptable in any other context becomes normalized because the power structure around the central figure makes accountability impossible. The same dynamic, by the way, that allowed the Epstein network to operate for as long as it did. Not because everyone around it was evil, because the power concentration made questioning it feel dangerous, made looking away feel like the rational choice. That is the through line. From the pageant world to the private island. From the political rally to the sealed court filing, the mechanism is the same: power concentration.
Or like Donald Trump had that other weird video where he like grabbed her and he's like pointing to the crowd. He's like, look, I got Erica. It's just all very weird. It's all very weird. These people are strange. They are constantly doing performance art. Erica Kirk still has not figured out the makeup. I don't know if she's ever going to be able to. Some people might say, Jack, don't criticize appearance, da-da-da-da-da. She's a bad person. Like, these people are terrible. And I said it on day one when, Charlie got kirked. I was like, I don't feel badly for his wife because she married a horrible person, which is what he is. His job was to harass black women for a living. And he made a lot of money doing it because there's a lot of bigots in the Republican Party and across this country. But I don't think that makes him a civil rights champion. And his wife continuing to grift off that legacy, a legacy that she's actually really tarnished, imagining, it could get much worse than it already was.
Social insulation, institutional protection, and the deliberate redirection of attention whenever someone gets too close to the thing that cannot be named. And the thing that cannot be named right now, at a Turning Point USA event, in front of the most loyal supporters of a president who promised transparency, is Epstein. Just that word. just that file, just those names. Everything else can be on the table. Aliens? Fine. Iran? Sure. UFOs? Absolutely. But Epstein? Nothing. Still. Here is what you should do right now. Go to the federal court records from the Southern District of New York in the Epstein case. They are public. Many of them are accessible. Read the victim impact statements that were submitted. Read the documented descriptions of how the network operated. Read the names that are already on the public record. And then ask yourself one specific question in the comments below this video. Given that Maxwell is convicted and imprisoned, given that the operational details of the network are documented in federal court records, what specific legal or national security justification exists for keeping the remaining names sealed? Not a political justification, a legal one. Write your answer in the comments, because that question deserves a specific answer, and the people in power who have that answer are choosing actively and deliberately to give you UFO files instead. Nothing about Epstein. Still. If this breakdown gave you something to think about, something to research, something to share with someone who needs to understand how this redirection mechanism actually works, then do 3 things right now. Like this video. Share it with one person who is still waiting for real answers on the Epstein files. And subscribe to Celebrity Newspedia and turn on your notifications. Because we are going to keep pulling on this thread. We are going to keep reading the documents. We are going to keep asking the question that keeps getting answered with aliens and applause lines and very interesting documents that will be released very, very soon. We will be here. We will keep going. And we will keep saying the name that apparently cannot be said at a Turning Point USA event in front of the people who were promised it would be. Epstein. Still waiting. Still watching. And still here.